Okay, recording has started. So thank you everybody for joining us today for another session of the Data and AI Architecture Group. Today we got Vinodh Kumar, Cloud Data Architect at Presidio. He's going to walk us through a deep dive on shortcuts featuring Microsoft Fabric. A lot of interest still out there in the market for Fabric. Microsoft putting a lot of money and investment into the development and also the marketing of Fabric. So everybody's talking about Fabric. And shortcuts was a pretty cool feature, one of the main features used for doing some fabric architecture. So we're able to talk between the different components and also for data sharing and a lot more stuff. So really cool that we got a session today just dedicated on some of these new capabilities that Fabric has compared to the previous version of the platform that we had with Synapse. So without further ado, feel free to use the chat if you have some questions. I'm going to be making sure that everybody stays muted. I'm going to mute myself too once Vinod gets going. So thank you again, Vinod. Thank you for your time, and the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Warner. Uh, Hello, all. Good evening, all. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're based on. So, so today we'll look at on deep dive on shortcuts feature in Microsoft Fabric. Before that, a little bit about me. Uh, I'm a cloud data architect and a Microsoft certified trainer and community champion. If you are ever been into Azure Q&A sites, you would have seen me answering a lot of questions on data related stuff, especially with Synapse and ADF and all those stuffs, and then a little bit with Fabric community question answers as well. So I do a lot of events. I speak up at a lot of events, especially related to Azure, Global Azure, and all those stuff. And then I write a lot of technical blog, especially with related to data, focusing on Azure and a little bit on AWS as well. So this is it about me. So uh, So what is Fabric? By this time, you would have, like Warner has pointed out, you would have seen a lot of time, you would have heard a lot of times about the Fabric, how Fabric is going to revolutionize the data suite market and how people are going to change the way they are handling the data till now. So basically, I believe you all know what Fabric is, but just to give a one-liner basic introduction, Fabric is a powerful data suite platform which includes all the tools, all the data suite tools that Microsoft so far has offered individually into a single window of collection wherein you can access everything in a single SaaS platform. That is just to put out very simply what is Fabric is. So more than that, I think this image would give you a clear overview on what are the services Fabric covers, like Synapse, and then data engineering is a persona, data factory, data science again is a persona. Persona, I'll show you what is personas, real-time analytics, Power BI. So this Synapse and Data Factory and Power BI, all these previously before Fabric, we used to handle it as a separate service where we'll use one thing for each and everything like Synapse for big data, data lakehouse workloads, ADF for pipelines, and Power BI for visualization. Now it has been completely gelled into a single platform. In addition to this, you have multi-language support, like you can handle it in Spark, Python, SQL, and then you have the KQL, Kusto query language, KQL databases included. And then the main thing here is all these services can be connected into a single platform, single storage platform called OneLake. So previously, we used to create a lot of link services, a lot of ADLS, S3 platforms to connect our data. Now that is not required. You can put in all your data, save in all your data in one lake. So whatever the lake house you create, whatever the pipelines you create, whatever you create, that stores into a single platform called one lake. One lake is just like your simply to say another extension of ADLS Gen 2 storage from where you can refer. You can segregate with workspaces and everything that can be done over there from the single storage platform. Okay, coming on to the topic, what is shortcuts? Shortcuts is nothing but typically what we have ever seen so far, right from the time we started using the Windows, the PC, the desktop, all these things. We would have seen a lot of time. There is a when you right click it, when you click on new, you'll see an option called shortcuts. What is that? That is nothing but you have a file over in some other path in D drive, E drive, or some other storage. You will create a shortcut over in a desktop or something over there. So this is how we traditionally grew up. We all have used to these kind of shortcut mechanisms. That is to simply put, this shortcuts, it's almost similar to what is that traditional shortcut that we have seen, which means you don't have to copy or move storage whenever you need, wherever you want. You just can maintain a single copy of storage and click a shortcut on top of it and refer it to multiple lake houses, and then from there to you can create views with warehouses. Wherever you want, you can simply create it, but you don't have to copy or running through with multiple copies of data. So which is ultimately we want, right? The biggest problem now, all the data companies, all the companies that handle a huge amount of data, is multiple versions of data, multiple layers of data. We would have seen in each one of us environment, we would have seen like two, three, four, five, more than number of copies for a one file of data. We would have saved it as underscore back, underscore this one, underscore that one. At some point of time, we don't even know which is the single source of truth, which is the right one. uh, so here we don't have to do that. You always you always access a single source of truth, which means you always have an updated information. You don't have to handle multiple files, multiple copies. So, and then building up a lot of bigger pipelines just to copy the data, copy activity, and everything. All those times are saved here using shortcuts. I put it out like shortcuts provide quick access to frequently used action and components. Yes, right. Most of the traditional data engineers' job, if you see in any company, they'll be using a copy activity just for moving data from here to there, there to here, all these things. So there is with this feature, you don't have to go through all this, and it's designed to be fast and secure because you're accessing it from your one leg. And then biggest plus is no code environment. You don't have to physically type in codes or from Python or SQL just to build this. You can create it in one go. You can just create it in right click and create. We are going to see that in a demo in a bit. So you can simply do this. So how does it work? How does a shortcut work? What is it's called internally? It is nothing but it holds a symbolic link in the sense whatever we discussed at the start of this, like it is like a traditional shortcut that we used to create in our older machines, right? So whenever you create a shortcut, that shortcut will have a link, symbolic link to the original file that is saved elsewhere in the sense literally you can save it in one lake. It's not limited to only ADLS Gen 2 or something. You can save it in S3. You can save it anywhere, but all you need is you have to set it up the shortcut and you can access it from anywhere. So this is a serious amount of time and effort that has been saved because we don't handle all these multiple copy activities moving the files around. And then the single source of truth that, as we discussed, ensures that all users are accessing the same version of data, promoting consistency. So this is very important. This is one of the biggest problems we look through with a lot of versioning tools, a lot of text, a lot of comments, writing out, I've taken this up, a lot of backups, restore, all this, it's not needed here. So in this right image, you could see that traditionally this is how the shortcut will look. So for example, this is sample lake house. Internally, we'll have two kinds, like a managed and unmanaged. Managed in the sense, you can create straight away as a table. In the sense, we'll see that how to create files from one lake, straight away mount it as a shortcut tables. Or else you can, in unmanaged way, you can mount as a files, and from files you can load it as a spark table in lakehouse. Or else based on it you can create views that can be accessed from a data warehouse databases. So we'll see that in a bit. So, any questions so far? Anything you think that has to be put out? Okay. If anything, you have any questions, let's take it as an conversational way. Let's have it in an interactive way. Put out a lot of your questions. We'll try to discuss and come over it. Okay. So, to put out a deep dive on shortcuts, how does it work? The first thing comes out when we see any new feature, particularly from a new tool, and then a new feature. When we are saying this can be done this one, this way, that way, you can save so much time. And then the first suspect comes into our mind is the cost. So how much cost it's going to take, and then the performance, and then how feasible is this going to be, how hard is this going to be to set up this environment, to set up this to make this entire setup of this configuration. All these multiple questions come into it. So in terms of setup, I've already told you it's a very simple no code solution. You don't have to worry about it. You can just create it in within seconds through mouse, right click, and everything. It's very easy to do it. And then we'll see how does the cost works out here. How can we calculate how much does it take to how much does it get billed to use this feature? How all these are captured here, all these things. So shortcut, first of all, does not physically copy or move data to one lake. So in the sense, you can create a shortcut from the files that are saved in one lake, or if you are referring a shortcut from an ADLS or S3 or a Dataverse or Google Cloud Storage GCS, first of all, it's not going to copy data. It will not move data. If it does, the entire purpose is useless. So the basic purpose of the shortcut is it will not move data. So first thing we'll have to be clear about it. Shortcut enables Fabric to perform in-place IO on the file wherever they reside, as what is stated. So wherever your file stays, that stays there itself. We are just going to create a link over it. So the file from will be read from wherever it is available in the source. So no job of moving or copying the files over here. Shortcut does not use any compute on, as it also does not copy data because there is no copy here. So there is no point of the shortcut feature getting into using the compute. There is no need here. It performs in-place reads, writes on remote storage. You can consider them as symbolic links. Yeah, we discussed, meaning that they rely upon I/O performance of the remote storage where data is being read from. Okay. So what does it mean? So when I am reading a file from ADLS Gen 2, so how does it? Because I already told you it's not going to copy the data. Okay. So what? How much compute? What is the cost is? So whatever the I/O, for example, irrespective of the Fabric or anything, when you read a file from an ADLS Gen 2, there is some ingress egress that is going to happen. So that is the thing that is happening here. When you are reading the file over there, and sorry, the egress cost and then the egress compute that is going to have here. So when you after reading after the egress cost, when you read the data over here, then you will be doing a compute over the data. So you will be doing a lot of aggregations or something over there. For that, you will be billed for the fabric cost that you are using. So Fabric, as you know, right? That is involved with SKUs with F28, F64, and it has multiple CUs attached to each license tiers. So that is how it is used. So the egress compute, egress cost will be from the ADLS, and then the Fabric compute will come into picture only when you start doing compute on the data. Look at the third point. If you're reading data from a shortcut, then IO sits with external storage. Yes, right? Correct. CUs will be dictated by the type of operation you are doing on Fabric. So this will sit with the Fabric engine you are using to interact with the shortcut. Absolutely. So whatever I'm trying to create using the data in Fabric, that is where my CU is getting used for. So there is nothing. So you could see the clear demarcation. The Fabric contains itself only with the compute for all that we are going to do after the data is read from. So, and then the storage stops with only with the IO, I mean the egress. For example, this is a nice example. You can have some more clarity. When you read a file from ADLS Gen 2 shortcut using Fabric Spark, the CU cost is whatever analysis you are trying to do with the data. The IO required will be handled by the remote storage, as we discussed now. Okay, if it's not there, just to put out a perspective, just to understand more, the alternative in this scenario would be to physically store data on a one lake, which involves CUs for compute, storage transactions, and raw storage costs. See the number of cost here. You'll have to physically, when you try to physically store one lake, which is when you're not adapting to this mechanism, when you're trying to do opposite of this, when you physically store the data in one lake, that involves CU, which is for compute and storage transactions, as well as the raw storage cost, which you physically store, similar to what we do in ADLS. And one catch here is Fabric as a feature is a fantastic thing, but we might face a little bit of lag. That is expected. Even the Fabric team agrees to it. There will be a minimal latency because it is carrying out an in-place read and write. So that is acceptable. And then reading files stored in one lake using shortcuts from the same region. That is right. That makes sense. When you're reading file from a different region, you will obviously face some slowness. Whereas if you're having the files, if you're reading files from the same region, which is not always we can stress, we can't expect that it to happen every time, but still, if in case you want to avoid this lag and you want to come out of it, you can definitely try to put it on the same region where your shortcuts and fabric capacity are. In some cases, customers, this is what Microsoft claims, customers are ready to trade slight performance in return of ease of use. Avoiding pipeline costs, yeah, I agree, but I'm not sure if customers are ready to trade slight performance. But this is what Microsoft claims. Also, there is a feature called intelligent cache, which is basically an in-memory. Uh, I haven't tried it, but Microsoft prescribes that if you use intelligent cache, you can reduce the latency. But I'm not sure if this completely activates or works like an in-memory computing. If so, how much data that it can contain and how much cost or compute that it is going to come out with. I'm not sure on it, but they prescribe intelligent cache in Microsoft Fabric is one of the feature that can reduce the latency. Okay. Any questions so far on this? Okay. And then, so when you say the fabric, you can create fabric from one lake. Okay, you said fabric and one lake or both are together. It's an underlying a single storage factor. So that's not a big deal, right? You can, that's not a bigger effort when you want to create a shortcut from one lake. But what about creating an shortcut from ADLS? That too from a different subscription or different somewhere else. For example, I'm giving out, I'm trying to create one shortcut from my personal account to someone else, my friend's personal subscription, who is living in some other region, or having it and having the storage and all the services in some other region. Irrespective, if you don't have any this firewall blocks and everything is not in place, you can still go ahead and use ADLS or S3 or anything to connect over and create a shortcut in Fabric. So there is no restriction as to how you will have to create only in the same subscription, or this has to be on the same workspace where the Fabric is. No, there is no such restrictions in place. You can create anywhere. So if the target of the shortcut contains the delta parquet format, so one thing is we'll see in the real-time demo. So the echoes automatically synchronizes the metadata and recognizes the folder as a table. So as you know, the Fabric's default file format is the delta parquet format. So if you are shortcutting files into an lakehouse table, so if that file set of files contains a delta parquet format, it will automatically detect it as an table. You don't recognize that folder as a table and mount it as a table. If that files doesn't have a delta parquet format, it will create, it will still create, but it won't be listed as a table. It will have a tag like unidentified, different format, but you can't access those files as a table. I'll show you what error it throws. It will be interesting. In the files, there are no restrictions where you can, okay, got it. Table discovery doesn't happen in the files folder. Yes, just like what we discussed few seconds ago. And then benefits of shortcuts, I'll try to run through. Improved data access, quick access to frequently used data, simplified data navigation, yeah, it's expected. And then collaboration, because you can share the shortcuts instead of giving them access to the base files or anything, just sharing the access shortcuts so that they can also access it. Standardized data access and time saving, streamlined workflow. These are all common topics. I don't want to stress more on it because this is self-explanatory. Organizational benefits, okay. Centralized management, consistency, okay, all good. Okay, what are the types? Somebody ping. Sorry, 1 second. I don't. Can be done with private endpoint in a cross check. Yes. 1 second. Can I ask, does this shortcuts data being stored in some sort of metadata file? No, no, nothing. You don't have anything that is stored for this. Simply, it's a link. There will be a symbolic link that will be when you just like creating in the sense. How about when you are mounting a storage in your Windows, right? Network share or something like that. When creating shortcut, can this be done with private endpoint in a cross-tenant scenario? It should be, but I haven't tried it. Um, this private endpoint scenario was previously we had this scenario where you'll have to create when you are trying to access files into Fabric. That is, the files when the files are from behind the firewall or in some other network, you will have to establish a private endpoint. From there, you can bridge to access the files. But I'm not sure now because I haven't tried it. So I'll check and let you know on the same window. Okay, with the type of shortcuts, one layer KDLS and S3, all we know we just discussed. And in addition to this, one thing I left over is GCS, Google Cloud Storage. And then here, if you could see, this is how it would expect the DFS address, DFS URL, not a blob URL. Same for this bucket name S3 region Amazon. This is the example how it is. And then how to create a shortcuts. We are going to see this. I'll show you practically. Deleting shortcut. One important thing that you will have to notice. I'll show you. You can't straight away on the right side when the files are visible. When you just right click in some places and delete, you are in a situation where you will delete the original file from the storage itself. So you will have to be very careful. Make double sure that you are deleting only the shortcuts, not the files, because however when you try to delete the file, it is automatically it will throw up an error. Make sure you read the message before hitting on the S button. Time for demo. One second. I'm resharing. Just give me a moment. I'm resharing. So, window. Uh, Let me know if you're able to see my screen. I think yes. Okay. I'm just putting auto here. Okay. So basically, this is how it would be. So basically, to start with, these are the workspaces. For example, for this workshop, I'm taking out a workshop 2. You see here the lake house. All these three things are related to lake house. So these are warehouse and then the notebook. So typically, this is how the workspace would look like. But getting on to the topic, so how do you create a shortcut? So I'm just clicking on lake house here. I'm going into the I've just created a lake house. If you want to try, you can just create an empty lake house. Just for now, think that this empty lake house, there is nothing over it. I'll just show you how to create. Just get data, new shortcut. See, these are the options available. It will throw out an option, multiple options. One is internal sources, one lake, and then S3, data lake, ADLS Gen 2 Dataverse, and Google Cloud Storage. For example, if I'm trying to create from one lake, that is internally. So let's have a scenario. Now you will be thinking over when I click on one lake, you will be seeing a list of files. Those Excel or CSV files will be there, and I'll be double clicking on it, and then automatically shortcut will be created. No, that's not the case. All this window will show you is lakehouse and warehouse that are stored in your workspaces. For example, if I am clicking on demo lakehouse 2, this I'm trying to uh, pick. I'm trying to create a shortcut of another lakehouse in my lakehouse. So if I click on here, it will show this lakehouse. It will show the contents of it lakehouse. I mean, what are the files available? What are the shortcuts? I mean, what are the tables that are available? For example, if you go here, you could see there, right? These are the files from the different lakehouse. These are the files from the different lakehouse. So for example, I want to reproduce, or I want to tag this lakehouse table, another lakehouse table in my lakehouse table. For example, this is DW2 lakehouse is my new lakehouse, but I want to create a shortcut from demo lakehouse to subfolder table. You see here, there is a Delta Parquet format available. So I am selecting this over and then trying to create a, see, you could see the table here, right? So I never moved any file. I did not do a copy, no backup, restore, nothing. I just simply created shortcut of a file from the other lakehouse without much of an effort within seconds. So this will automatically have all the data that is over there. So whenever you don't have to do copy or anything, simply you can read all the data from here. Okay, this is one option. So for example, we'll see one more option, IoT Lakehouse. Let's see here. See, in this, I have a lot of two shortcuts and then two normal files. In this normal file, I see a lot of Parquet files. In this, okay, okay. In this files, let's see this. In this files, I have, okay, now the folder is not here. Let's go to the some other storage. Demo Lakehouse. Okay, let's take fin files. Okay, this fin files has three CSVs, nothing else. This has three CSVs, no delta parquet format defined, nothing here. I am trying to create this as an shortcut. Let's see what happens here. This is another fin files. Disregard this. This is the one we are looking at. It is getting created. Let's see how this is getting created. It will normally, it's normal to take some time because it is reading files from there. First time it will take some time. If you see, this is I've created as a file shortcut. Same files I've created as a file shortcuts here, but I'm trying to show you. See here, we discussed, right? Unidentified. Why is this happening? Because this is not in delta parquet format. This doesn't contain delta parquet format. It does contain only three source files. So this is what I told you. When you try to force create a shortcut files without a delta parquet format, this is what happens. It is unidentified. But what can I do here? I can see the files, but I can't do anything. I can't load to files or anything. Nothing. So what is the point here? Nothing. So I'm going to delete it. See, if you delete it from here, you'll be losing the files in the storage itself. So better to delete from here. It will say this is raw, only the shortcut will be removed. Yes, I don't want this. So other way around is, for example, if you want to create from only from files, you can just click on the three dots here and then create a new shortcut. From here you can try to create uh, IoT database. I'm trying to tag in. Okay, how about shortcutting a shortcut? I mean, there is another lake house which already is a shortcut. I am, what if I'm trying to create a shortcut over this one? We can do that. See, this NYC we could see the symbol over here, right? In the demo count and NYC smart trips underscore TBL, both are already shortcut. I am trying to bring in shortcut over and shortcut. Let's try this. Okay, it got created. Okay, now what happens? What can I do? I can straight away load this to a new table underscore demo fabric. Oh, market. Yes, you could see the file over here. This is table. It's a different older table. So this is the magic of this one. When you have a delta packet table, it is easy for you to load it into table. See here, whatever I've created has come over here as a table. From here, you can open a notebook and then do all your calculations, all your data processing, or else create a view and then call the view in a data warehouse tables. See here, this is what we created, right? Load it as a Spark engine. There is also a lot of improvements on the Spark pools. Usually, in Synapse, we used to wait a lot of time. I mean, 6 minutes, 5 minutes, just to get the Spark pool getting started. But there are a lot of improvements on this, wherein you get the Spark getting created within seconds, and then compute is happening within a minute. There has been a lot of improvements done on the background for this. See this? Here it has come. We just shortcutted already present shortcut in a lakehouse. From there, we load it into a table, and from there we pulled out in a Spark data frame. From here, you can create a view, a skill view or something, and then from there you can pull out in a data warehouse. For example, here you'll always have this is a data lakehouse that we just saw. There is one more point called analytics, which will look just like an database table with views, logins, normal SQL Server, whatever you had. So we just created this table, right? So what I'm doing, select top 100. So I'm getting here. You can create it as a view here. If you create it as a view, simply, for example, I'm deleting this one. I'm saying, sorry, create view one. Okay, now I've created a view. So this view will help me in calling it from data warehouse. It will take some time. See here, view one. So I can easily. So why should we create? Why can't we create a shortcut from within the data warehouses? The shortcut can be created only from KQL and then a lakehouse. You can't straight away directly create a shortcut over the data warehouse, but this is the way you can do it. You can create it a shortcut in a data lakehouse, and from there you can load it in a Spark data frame, and then from there you can create a view. A bit of beating around the bush, but uh, because we don't have that facility to directly create it, we can use this kind of formula. Right, done. Okay, so now we'll be thinking, okay, man, you created from one lake. That's not a big deal. It's a common storage. What about creating from external storages? Okay, we'll see that. We'll see a shortcut from ADLS. How about getting a shortcut from ADLS? Azure Data Lake Storage, and then from there, uh, I'm I have stored it in my ADLS storage. This is the DFS. You'll have to pick out the DFS and then URL, because I've already created a connection. It is showing us already. It is remembering the connection, and then from this method you can now use any of this method I have created. Using the account key, because I already had account key. So what I did is I created using the account key, and then okay. See this? It is fetching the files from my ADLS, which is a cross subscription access. This account, what I'm using in the current fabric, is not related to the account where I've stored all these files. Park and CSV. Let's see. Let's create a CSV. I'm picking all files. Next, I'm saying fabric shortcut demo. Then I'm trying to create it. It's getting created. The only thing is the time it takes for the first time to get the shortcut created. Sometimes it is very fast, sometimes. Okay, this is obvious, right? This is expected. Just we discussed, right? When you try to forcefully create a shortcut that has no log, delta log, so this is what happens. Here, delta log is there. You are able to upload it as a table, everything you can do it. But here, you don't have it. You can't do anything. So if you say, okay, what if I don't have delta log at all? Is this a restriction? No. There is another methods. You can create a notebook, and then there are, I think, through Python there is only 2 or 3 lines of code wherein you can convert this files into a delta log format, a delta log format, and then delta parquet will easily be accepted here once when you convert it. That's only 2 lines of code, but we are not going into it right now. But this is, from this you can see, you can easily get your even ADLS or S3. S3 I don't have here, but ADLS or S3 or GCS or within one lake. You can easily get over all your files within just a click. Just imagine the time we spent today to create all these shortcuts. I think it's not even more than 15 minutes, all these shortcuts. Just imagine if we don't have this feature, we'll be writing code, lines and lines of code, building up pipelines, copying files, creating a link over here, testing the connections, and then these connection issues, all this stuff, right? So this is the main advantage of using shortcut. So I hope there will be a lot of questions here now. Please throw out your questions. You can unmute and talk, or else you can ping, ready to answer. No questions? I should be both happy and
I see
sad.
some typing. I see some typing
Will
right
Robinson is
now.
coming to the rescue.
Yeah.
So there has been a lot of improvement, guys. I mean, the
I
fabric
have
of
a quick question here,
yes.
Vinod. Maybe you can help me. I mean, I like the feature. I see how it can be really useful. Obviously, it allows you to, do the kind of like what we were talking about just before where we started the call about having different workspaces, attached to different capacities and sharing data between the different workspaces and all this kind of stuff. But how do you then, is there an API or views or something? How do you keep track of everything that you've shortcutted and shared? Right? Because imagine after like a few years of creating shortcuts and giving them to people, and then comes in an auditor and says, "Hey, I want to know everything that you're sharing outside." Like, right? It must be. Is is there something available to be able, even if you have to code it yourself? Is there something available now? Is it API or PowerShell or something, or right now it's just a gap in the product?
I think I'm not sure. I think it's a gap as of now because I've not anywhere have read about these lines. Even Yang was asking this. This was a nice question actually. Even I had this a lot of time because usually in Azure SQL or Synapse or something, you'll have a lot of DMVs or system tables or something where you'll go and query and it will throw out all the metadata. But I don't think currently it exists. But even if it exists, we don't have visibility over it. But
They're gonna have to come up with something, right? Because
yeah,
Microsoft's gonna
definitely.
have customers that will have to get audited for many different reasons or regulatory compliance, and they'll have to produce some report that says, hey, everything, this is everything that's being shared externally, right?
Valid question. Yes, he should have. Is there
Yeah.
any way to be HIPAA compliant in terms of data with you have showcased displayed on the access permissions from health standpoint? Um, One lake will one lake by itself it is it's it has an data security mechanism in terms of I'm not sure if it's HIPAA compliant. I had another I did another presentation which I think I can share with you guys where I covered this how secure is this one. I'll reshare my screen. I covered this. I had the same question in one of my how the order works. How does it work? This is billing. Here it has by default one leg has PIA scans, governance, and complaints. I don't think specifically with HIPAA, but it has MIP labels supports for one leg, and then lineage, as you know, it is sure there, and then PIA scans are there. But HIPAA and GDPR, I hope it should be, but I can't confirm now because I'm not sure on it. Okay. Any other questions, guys? This is one of the other thing we did in a global Azure meetup. So wherein we discussed a lot of internals on how the lakehouse is working, but it's completely off topic for what today is meant for. But just giving an overview. Maybe another time we can have this meeting.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you have any other follow-up topics that go beyond, we covered today at Fabric, there's a lot of interest. I've heard a lot of people that also want to cover. So I received a few emails about a few topics that people want to see covered. One of them is about the life cycle management of artifacts in Fabric. Now that there's the deployment pipelines functionality that's built into the product, right? That you can now have like a different deployment stages defined in the product and that kind of stuff. That's one that's a lot of interest right now. Another one that's been a lot of people have been asking is a session that is just dedicated to the differences between lakehouse and warehouse, because that's like the number one question when people start looking at Fabric. They're like, well, but when do I use the lake house and when do I use the warehouse? And what am I giving up if I do only the warehouse? What am I giving up if I do only the lake house? Should I always do both? So that I think, and that's a really good architecture question, by the way.
Yeah.
So that's another one that's been floating around. So if you have any point, want to jump back into the group, I'd be more than happy to host again, Vinod. Thank you for your time today. Thanks
Yeah.
everybody that is joining us online as well. I will be posting the recording on YouTube. And once again, thank you, Vinod, for
Mm.
donating your time for the group and coming here to, you know, give us some good information.
Thank you. Thank you for all the participants, and thank you, Warner, as well. Have a nice day.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye bye.